Well, welcome to the Real Estate Heavyweights podcast. And today we have an amazing interview. This is a person, I've heard his name. I've actually met him a few times. I don't know if he remembers or not, but I've met him a few times in the lobby of Keller Williams there at Dallas Preston Road. But I've heard his name more than I have, more times than I've met him, because Tavis talks about him a lot. And I know Tavis has a lot of respect for him. He's worked with him a long time. His name is Mr. Ben Baker. He is an agent at Keller Williams. But since they go way, way back, I'm going to hand it over to Tavis and let Tavis fill us in on how their relationship started and their history and a little bit about Mr. Baker.
All right. Well, good morning. Well, Ben, this is going to be interesting because I know you do a weekly Tuesday morning get together, and you're used to asking everybody else questions and not being the one on the spotlight. So,
nervous.
Ben,
oh my goodness.
Ben doesn't talk. He doesn't talk about himself very often.
Yeah.
You talk about, things going on, but, it's unique that we get to, put you in the spotlight today. So, Ben, you and I have known each other. We've crossed paths when I joined Keller Williams back in 2009. So that is, here I go trying to do math again with years.
Don't do it.
Not the best. I think we're at 15 years. I think that's accurate.
Yeah, it's not very close. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to celebrate my 20th year licensed here coming up in August. So I had about a 5-year run before I, merged into KW back in 2009. Now, obviously, you've got some gray there. You don't have much hair left.
You didn't have to emphasize the obviously so much.
How many years is this for you, Mr. Ben?
Oh my goodness. 35. So it's either I'm moving right into my 35th or I just entered my 35th. So
wow.
And shocked and amazed every time, when I say that. And sometimes I can tell you, I've gotten to where I'm a little reluctant to say that to people because then they look at you a certain way, right? Like, I can't believe you're either still in this or that you've hung around this long or that you're still excited about it. And I think, and I tell folks, I'm so fortunate that I have had success, and really I'm at a point where I don't really have to. I'm lucky that I still enjoy it, because if it sucked every day, then I wouldn't do it, right? I'd either be doing something else or chilling and relaxing. But I still enjoy the service. I still enjoy the hunt. I like that hunt, right? So.
Well, so did you start in Dallas? Is that you've always been in Dallas doing real estate?
Yeah, it's crazy. I started at a very small company called the Banner Realty Group in Rowlett, Texas, and which was really crazy because I should have never been there. I was so naive as a new agent. I didn't realize that you had choices. Back then, a company had to sponsor you to take the test, and they sponsored me because I was working for Consolidated Freightway, and one of the salespeople there, his wife worked for the Banner Realty Group, and they said, we'll sponsor you. So after I passed my test, I thought, well, I've got to go to work there. And the interesting thing is I drove from Plano, Texas to Rowlett, Texas every day. Plano, Texas was the hottest and the fastest growing city in the entire United States back then. That would have been somewhere around 1989, I think, 88, 89, somewhere around there. And so I left the hottest and drove to the weakest. There was nothing selling in Rowlett unless you wanted to be on the water. And I'm so fortunate that a woman, and I wish I could remember her name, but I think her first name was Linda. She saw me and she said, Ben, if you don't mind me saying, you're way too sharp to be here in Rowlett, Texas. And I don't remember if she was talking about my dress because I was so young at the time. I think I was 26. And at that time, the average real estate agent was 58. So I was much younger.
Wow.
So I tried to compensate for it. I wore a beard. Sometimes I wore clear glasses. I overdressed. I put a suit on all the time with a tie to appear more professional. And I took her words and I thought, you're right. And I was at that company, I think, for 6 or 7 months, and I never showed a buyer, never went on a listing appointment. I was so naive. I sat at that desk every day expecting the phone to ring, and finally decided this isn't working. But I'm also fortunate that I had the stick-to-itiveness that it takes to realize that, no, I can do this. I'm just with the wrong company, right? I'm with the wrong support team. I'm with the wrong community. And then I moved to Plano, and basically the rest is history from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot to say with that, just to circle it back. But I want to start with I believe you're a Plano native, right? You graduated
Yes.
from Plano East,
Correct.
and then went on to Baylor, correct?
Yes, it's a comparison.
And you got to be very proud of your Plano East team this year and winning state for basketball, man. What an amazing victory that was.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So real quick, so you get into the business, you said approximately in 1989, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 1989, you get into the business. Obviously, that's pretty cool to think about right now, because all this controversy is talking about high interest rates, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was at the peak at the time when the high interest rates were.
Mm-hmm.
The other big controversy to bring up, and I want to just kind of balance this out with you, because we've talked about this in the past, with all this controversy going on with NAR and all these regulations changing and how buyers agents get paid, et cetera. You were in an era where before there was buyers agents and sellers agents, right? And you
Right.
were back when everybody pretty much represented the seller, regardless if it was identified that way. It wasn't identified, right? So talk a little bit about that, like just your experience back then, fast forward in 35 years to what you're seeing now, and just some of those similarities and maybe some things that you can relate back to today's audience and some of these newer agents that are really having a hard time with everything. And not only that, I mean, we got social media now, and so there's opinions and controversy everywhere you look if you want to see it, right?
Right. Yeah, I'll start by with the interest rates, because when we bought our very first home was 1990. I mean, 90, 88, 89, we were coming off this crazy S&L and oil, crisis. Interest rates had increased, and fortunately for us, in 89, 90, they started falling a little bit, but they were still when we bought our first home in 90, they were at 11%. And we didn't know any different because that was the market of the moment. And so we, like you see today so often with especially builders, and we talk about 1-0 and 2-1s and 3-2 buy downs. We bought on a 3-2-1 buy down. So interest rates were at 11. Our first year was 9, second year 10, year 3 through 30 was at 11. And after 2 years, we were able to refinance that. I think we refinanced it down to the high 8s, and we were thrilled with it, right? So we didn't know any different. So we didn't complain about it. It is what it is. We didn't want an apartment. We wanted a house, and so be it. I think at that time, there was no buyer's agency, none of that. It was simple. I mean, folks wanted homes, and our responsibility was to help them find it. I think one of the major differences from then and today is that I think the trust factor was significantly higher, because if you were working with a buyer, I would ask them, do you already have a relationship with a lender? And 9 out of 10 times they did not. They trusted whoever you referred them to, right? They didn't question anything. They went straight to that lender. That lender got them taken care of, and we moved forward. I think today, with really, I'd say the advent of the internet, and because it's so prevalent in our business, the consumer now is educated more than ever, which you would think that's a good thing, but it's really not. It's just not. I think they know enough to make them dangerous.
Right.
And it's made them question, Ashton. They question everything. And I think there's some positives behind that. But gaining that trust is, I think, the most important thing we do, because when I say I've got you and I'm taking care of you, fortunately for me, I think my clients understand that and give me that trust and know that I'm going to do my damnedest to make sure that I lead you correctly. I make sure that we're protected in every area. And so that's what I feel like I battle with that all day, every day, is to make sure I gain that trust with you. And I've been fortunate, but it's more difficult than it's ever been. And in light of this NAR settlement, I do think that we have to get better as an industry. And I think one thing that we've missed forever, and I've missed it, is in taking care of you as a client. I've never shared all the things I've done to protect you and your interest. I think today it's paramount that we do just that. We've now created a document, and I think there is 160 to 180 things I do when I'm working with the buyer to, again, protect you, right? Move you in the right direction. Those documents now are being shared with buyers that I'm taking, on as clients, because they need to know this isn't just about me opening doors and pulling back drapes. It's never been about that, right? That's the easiest thing we do in our business, right? The most difficult things are the little bitty things that we do each and every day to take you from, suspect to prospect, right? Then to client, then to friend, if we're fortunate to go down that route. So making the consumer aware of everything and bringing our value, because the DOJ, I think the real estate REITs and Zillow and all those guys, who I personally believe are kind of behind all this craziness because they've been trying to get in our pockets forever. They think that we make way too much money. And when you explain to most savvy buyers and sellers that regardless of whether your standard was 1%, 2%, or 3%, I don't put all that 1%, 2%, or 3% in my pocket, right? My broker gets some, the IRS gets some for sure. Marketing, because I basically run a marketing company, and now I'm adding media to that. All of those people also need to be paid, right? And then Ben Baker gets paid. So fortunately, when I explain that to people now, many of them are going, okay, I see where the money is coming from or where the money goes, and I'm not getting nearly as many, side-eyed looks like, oh man, you're making all this money. And you know what? We are well paid. And I think that my income is just a byproduct of the service that I provided. As simple as that. And I've got a lot of people who trust me.
And I think, where do you think the disconnect is with consumers that look at you as just a individual licensee versus a business owner? Yeah. Like, where do you think that differential is? Because I think you brought up a good point, right? People see you, and, they make that opinion that you are an individual and every dollar you make is going into your pocket versus, you running a business, right?
Yeah. Again, I think that's mostly our fault. But I think that it's the real estate industry. I think it's been our fault forever, because we used to promote that this was a great little pastime, a hobby for, housewives. Because when I got into the business, the crazy thing is almost 75% of agents were women, not men, right? Yep. We've seen that change significantly. And not that men have brought the sexy back, or we've brought the professionalism into it, right?
Well, I do. I don't know about you, Ben, but I know.
Right? But I think that completely changed when then they realized, no, these men are out here taking care of families, right? And not just, we didn't even call it side hustle back in the day, right? It was a part-time, right? And this industry was filled with so many part-timers, and today that has changed. I don't know if I've answered your question, but I think for me, that was part of it when we started to see the men come into it. And then we saw women step up their game, right? We've seen groups and teams, we've seen these mergers, all to provide better and better service to the client. And I think that's where I don't know, gotten to. That's where this thing was headed, to make sure that we've got people who specialize in certain areas, right? We've got buyers agents, sellers agents, we've got customer care coordinators, we've got social media coordinators, right? I think Christina, who is, she's my assistant, but when I created the role, I didn't want an average assistant. I wanted someone to take care of so many different things. And I think there's like 17 things that she takes care of, for my company. So she's my success manager. And that's what I labeled, her role, because one, I wanted her to be able to step into that with her head held high, realizing that, no, she's an integral part of my success, and making sure that I move this, this difficult rock up that hill each and every day. And now again, I have to pay, right? And in running a business, she doesn't come for free. And my marketing budget is significant, right? I mean, you guys flip these homes all day, and, and you guys are running very successful companies. And I look at myself as, I'm a one-man wrecking crew. I've got this large company corporation, and just my marketing budget alone runs in the neighborhood of $8,000 to $10,000 a month, right? There's some small companies that don't spend that. And that's what I have to do to, again, continue this success and serve, the clients at a high level. So,
yeah, sure. I want to ask you a little bit about that. So two of the things that came to mind. So I do some social media stuff. I actually had a conversation with Jan Ritchie's team over the Keller Williams up in Plano. They had posted a job for a social media manager, and I work with a small company when that's what we do. So I had pitched the idea, like, I know you want someone full time, but I think we could do a good idea. And when we were having this discussion of what all they wanted, you're right. I mean, a lot of these things, people are running media companies. They're running marketing companies and media companies who happen to do something else. And we happen to do real estate. And so what's interesting is that on the surface, well, I need someone that can do this, but then you start breaking down, I need someone who's familiar with real estate, who can also do video, who also has the equipment, that can edit, that knows Facebook ads, that knows how to do this, knows the trends. And like, it becomes this kind of overwhelming thing. And so there's becoming specialty shops who do a good job at it. And I feel like that's, kind of where someone like our shop can come in and say, look, we can help with some of this stuff. But I think the interesting thing about it for a long time, and I think I'm sure it's out there, but I feel like there will be some education on, for a long time in social, it was almost like everyone was trying to make it feel easy and fun and sexy. And then I think that really like permeates, and the social conscious is like, oh, being a realtor is fun, and look at this, all these great things you get to do. But the grind is kind of boring to film, and it's boring to talk about, and no one wants to really see a video on how you got hung up on 3 times and you went to an open house and no one showed up. And those are kind of boring videos, but I think it would do the industry a little bit of good if people could see behind the scenes of sort of the little bit of the grind, because if we're only ever polishing it up and saying just listed, just sold, open house, look at this, pop champagne, like, it really kind of paints the wrong picture. And I think we're doing ourselves a disservice on that one.
I couldn't agree more. I think I did a video a few years ago, and it was the ugly side of real estate, right? Because it looks so pretty, right? We make it look so easy. This guy, Jeff McCart, paid me the highest compliment probably about 17 years ago. He said, Ben, the problem is that you make this look easy. And I, at first, when he said it, I thought, what in the world are you talking? But then when it sunk in, I thought, you're exactly right, right? I've told my son, I've told others who follow me, I said, what you see is the shine without realizing the grind behind this, right? Yeah. And so I think, to Ashton, to your point, I think we're starting to see a trend now of agents documenting all the ugliness that we have to go through in order to get you to the pretty. And the pretty is the finish line. And yeah, you see agents now popping bottles of champagne. I don't necessarily know if I like it or dislike it, but what I will tell you is I've also changed my verbiage because it's not just a closing, it's a celebration is what it is. And I feel like I started this about about 31 years ago with old Polaroids at the closing table. Because I'm like, if I'm fortunate enough to get here, right, this is a celebration. I took Polaroid pictures, and some of those I still have at the closing table with families, right? So we're seeing more and more of that now. And I think the more that we do that, the more the public will realize that, no, this is a tough ass job. And I think that they're also starting to realize it now, because many of those people who've rushed in because you guys have made it look easy. People want to flip homes all day because it's so glamorous and sexy, right? Only 10, and it's just touching 10. So 9% of new hires in real estate, 9% make it through a full year, right? Wow. So they jump in and then they realize, oh my goodness, this is not what I expected at all. There's over a 90% failure rate. And so I think that right there is giving those of us that have been in the grind forever even more credibility, because they thought it was easy, and they're like, this is not easy at all. And now all of a sudden, we gain more credibility, right? More status, because, Tavis has been in it, 20 years. I know you've been in it, 4 to 6
I'm
years.
about 4, yeah.
Right? Yeah, 35 years. And they're like, how in the hell have you done this for this long? And I said, well, because I'm passionate about learning. I'm passionate about service. I'm passionate about relationships. That's why, right? And I've done this at a high level. And I think more importantly is, I've got that hustle bone, and I've got the tenacity and the stick-to-itiveness that it takes, because there are way more lows than highs in this business. We get way more no's than we get yeses. And it's those few yeses that we get that validate that you're doing the right thing, that people appreciate you. I'm a high I off the charts when it comes to the DISC profile. And because I've never called for sale by owners or expired listings, because those people don't like you. They hate real estate agents, right? And I don't like dealing with people who don't like me. I want to be liked and respected. So
I want to ask about that a little bit. And Tavis, I will circle back here in a second, but I was going to get about your details of your business. So two things. I want to hear, you say you have an $8,000-$9,000 marketing budget. I would love to kind of hear what's worked for you. You kind of whittled that down. And I'd also, you talk about the 9 or 10%, 90% failure rate.
Yeah.
What are some of the basic things that you think differentiates an agent who can make it past that and be successful? When you sit down and you're training someone, I'm sure everyone, hey, how'd you do it? What are some of the actual activities, the takeaways that you can say, I can tell you if you're going, this will set you on that path if you can be successful. So I know that's two things, but I'd like to know that. And I'd love to hear about what you're spending your marketing money on.
I'll start with the, matter of fact, it's one of the classes that I've taught. And here, Keller Williams, we have what's called the 201 Club. And at the same time they were commissioning that study, I did a self-study to prove to myself that I guess my theory was correct. And here it is, plain and simple. If you were brand new, I would tell you that, first of all, real estate's a contact sport, okay? You got to get in the middle of this. You got to bump into and tackle people all day, every day. Monday through Friday, I want you, as a brand new agent, I want you to add one new addition to your database every day. It's simple. Success is simple, not easy, right? You add one new addition to your database every day, and that could be through cold calling. It could be through social media. It could be through open houses. Matter of fact, a simple process, I take their phone and I have them go to their contacts. And here's the interesting thing. I look at my phone, and in my phone, I've got 6,300 contacts in my phone. Okay. So when people go, well, I'm new to this area, I don't have any contacts. I'm like, go straight to your damn phone, right? Yes, you do. Now let's start calling those people and say, hey, Ashton, it's Ben Baker. I appreciate you giving me a second of your time. I just wanted to let you know that I am now, I've joined Keller Williams Realty, Ebby Halliday Realty, Coldwell Banker, whoever it is, right? And I just wanted to let you know that if you know anyone that has a need to buy, sell, build, invest, or lease, right? And if they don't already have a relationship, boom, I want to apply for that job. It's simple and easy. You add one new addition to your database every Monday through Friday. Now you've already built the database of a millionaire real estate agent, right? You need some type of CRM to help you stay connected with them. And if you do that, then it's all in the math, okay? You'll be looking at a 2% return minimum. But again, the importance behind this is you have to stay connected. You can't get their information and do nothing with it. Here at Keller Williams, we're fortunate that we've got command. We put them in there. We set them up on a smart plan. They're going to be contacted weekly, monthly, right, to stay connected. You should also make sure you add phone calls, text messages behind that. I also, one of the main pillars of my business, I host giveaways, experiences, or events every 60 days, right? And now those people, they get, those invitations too to help me stay connected. So now if you're brand new, you add 100 people, because I want you to add 100 people to your database as quickly as you can. If you add 100 people to your database and you're marketing to them correctly and aggressively, you're going to see a 2% return on that. That's 2 transactions by adding 100 people. Now it's all in the math. My goal this year was to add 450 people to my database, and a 2% return on that, that's 9 units by simply adding 450 people that I didn't know as of January 1, right? So I make it a math equation. And I can tell you that since I've been doing this in the last 3, almost 4 years now, I haven't seen a 2% return. 3 years ago, I shattered the record. I saw a 6% return. Because typically you see a 2% minimum, 5% maximum. I did 6%. Last year, the numbers were down. I did 4%. This year, right now, we're trending toward 3%. And that's the simplest thing I would tell a brand new agent is, this is a contact sport. As long as you start building that database, that book of business, you'll be fine. But again, you've got to make sure that those folks, they've got to hear from you month in and month out. You've got to show your competency in this business. They've got to show that you know what you're doing. You're valid. You're here to serve. For me, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, that's amazing. Great. That's awesome.
No, and that was actually, I was going to ask you, Ben, because you talk about us making things look easy. And so I get a lot of young a lot of young people, my son's friends, my kids, my nieces, my nephews. And it's tough. They come to me and they go, like one of my son's friends just graduated high school and he's like, hey, can I intern with you? And it's really difficult for me to know where to place him, right? Like, I'm like, you can ride around with me and I'm on the phone all day, but it's like, it's really difficult for me to understand what to have you do.
Yes.
Because of what I've been doing so long, I do take it for granted. It was interesting. You said you had like 6,400 contacts. So I had to look at my phone and see. I've got 4,800 in there. 4,868 to be exact. Ashton,
and a lot of your stuff lately has been off of Sphere, like a lot of your
really
your
has.
intake. So that'd be interesting to see what your percentage is like what your percentage of take on your
and now Sphere. My list has grown over the years to where there's a lot of other real estate professionals that are in that database now, right? In fact, every time I get a call from another agent, they go in my database and I save them as realtor/agent, right? That way I have that, because that has become such a big lead source for me.
Yes.
For the last, the last 12 years, 13 years, it has been other agents, but it's interesting to hear you say that. And I'm glad you're bringing that up. And that's, one of those benefits to being in an office like ours at KWDPR, because they have these classes every single day. I mean, if you want to spend time in classes, each and every day, you have that ability, and you learn things like this from people like yourself that have made it very simplistic in your business model.
Yes.
But it challenges you when you teach something to break it down and explain it, right, on how that works. And it's great to hear that, because I think, like you said, it is simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
Right. And Ashton, I've had these conversations as well. Ashton has now recently, over the last month, has transitioned into real estate full time, along with marketing. So he's doing, marketing kind of 50% of it as well. But, he was in healthcare before, and, was looking for a way out. So he's here. So congratulations with that. But we have these conversations all the time. And again, even for him and I growing our relationship of doing the podcast every week, I know I make things look easy. Right. And fortunately for me, the phone rings for me quite
it's
a bit.
It's just Harleys and boats and just vacations in the, like, hey, I'm going to take the catamaran down the British Virgin Islands. That's all you do.
Right. That's all I do.
But
it is funny because, when I hear Tabitha talk about it, or something with me, and, there's obviously a level of irritation that goes when I have that phone in my hand. When we're on vacation or somebody else, but that is my connection, right? Mm-hmm. That is my database. That is something to where I can do something from my, mobile phone in another country and make things happen, right? Just by getting the communication and connecting the dots. And again, I think you're right. I mean, it's great to hear that, and I'm sure there's other nuts and bolts to it, but that's a great aha to get people going. Because like I said, I've had some of these young guys that want to get in, and it's so difficult for me to know where to point them. and they don't relate to it, right? Like they don't relate to that, because now everything has become, if you think about it, I mean, realistically, when I got into the business, social media didn't exist. And so, having phone conversations and, emails, happened. But I mean, for a lot of times it was either in person or it was on the phone. And, social media didn't exist then. And texting didn't exist then. And now we're in an age where, this new generation is, they're used to putting on some TikTok video and getting 1 million followers, for, whatever, just to feel good about themselves. Right. And they don't understand the logistics to really connecting with that audience, right? Or really making a difference in that database and really connecting in a personal level. Right.
Well, and I think if they're going to run a business, they will have to learn that lesson, because I think that, again, just to continue your thought process here, when I got in, we were just getting a mobile phone, and we had pagers. And the crazy thing is, my wife would complain because my pager would go off so many times. And I thought, you know what, this damn thing, this goes off more than doctors, right? You could understand a doctor, right, needing a pager. My pager would go off so much. And then with the hip hop era, it was, it wasn't really positive. It was, drug deals going down. It was craziness, right? But my mindset said that, Ben, if this thing wasn't going off, then you know what? Then you wouldn't be working. You're fortunate. You're so fortunate that this thing is going off as much as it is, right? Because people need you and they want your service. I have seen the young folks, including my son, who has now been licensed for over a year. They are so not used to contact. They've been used to texting all day. And that's one of his biggest issues is, I'm like, son, no, you've got to talk to people. And he thinks, or young people think that, my Gen Z, whatever they are today, they're so used to communicating via texting. And I'm like, those young kids, yes, but understand this, the majority of your real estate clients, even when I was 26 in this business, 25 or 26, my average clients were 35 and 40 and 42. I've tried to tell him, right now, you might not be selling homes to the 24-year-olds. You might be selling homes to a 48-year-old who you met at an open house that you bonded with, you built some rapport with, right? Those guys are professionals. You can't sit here and text them one time, and if they don't text you back, right, you move on. You've got to stay connected. They want to hear your voice, right? Sometimes they want to see your face. When I'm working with a new client now, I make darn sure the very first thing we do is we have a buyer consult, and we either do it in person, we do it on Zoom, so that I can see you, right? We can laugh, we can talk about our bald heads, right? And they're great. And and when I make a joke, hopefully you'll laugh, you'll hear the inflection in my voice. Those things are important because, prime example, I met a couple just 2 weeks ago. We had a buyer consult 6 or 7 days before we met. When we met, we felt like we knew each other. There was hugs. I just met this woman, right? Her and her husband. We dapped it up. She gave me a big hug, and she's like, "Oh," she told the sales rep, she's like, "Oh my goodness, yeah, this is the first time I'm meeting him." But she felt like we had already met, which was crazy.
Right. Yeah.
So it's that connection that I think they're going to have to learn it if they're going to be relevant in this business and be.
And I will say one of the things that can be done pretty easily, right? For somebody new getting in, your son, my kids, when you're making those connections, and you have enough of a connection to where you can meet with somebody. Think about all the coffee shops that exist these days, right? Yeah. That are just coffee shops. And if you don't have a lot of money to spend on marketing, you got $10-15, go buy yourself and the client a cup of coffee. Yep. It's so easy to do that and spend an hour of their time sitting face to face with them. That was always a thing for me to get in front of somebody. I mean, there was, when I first started, I'd get leads from loan officers and I'd go out and I was really good about narrowing down multiple properties. And these were low budgets as $100,000 buyer. And, I'd drive to wherever. I mean, I think one of my first transactions was Ennis. But I would drive out there. I would show them 5 homes. We'd narrow it down out of 5 homes. That was kind of my max on the first showing. And 9 times out of 10, we were writing a contract because I was only showing them A properties. Like basically I would control it. I knew the market. I would dial it in. There might be 30 properties available, but I would pick the A's, right? Mm-hmm. What's new on the market? What shows right? What looks like it's priced correctly, et cetera.
Right.
And narrow it down to 5 properties, go show them. And we were sitting out of Chili's or some cheap restaurant writing a contract. I always had contracts with me and we'd break it out and we'd sit there and I'd buy them dinner and I'd write a contract. And then we were submitting that contract that night. I mean, it was like, be ready to go, be ready to, dial it in. I mean, they were pre-approved. I was getting these leads from agents. I mean, not agents, but loan officers. Mm-hmm. And they loved it. Right. And the more I did that, the more loan officers like, oh, this dude's a closer, he's dialing it in. And then you're building that relationship because it was, you were bringing value, right?
All day.
And then it was that contact part. So
Ashton, I think for someone who's newer in the business, we talk about, I think if I added it up, I bet I've written at least 20 to 25 deals at a McDonald's. And no joke, I've done 5 to 6 deals on the hood of my car.
Nice. Yeah.
5 to 6 deals on the hood of my car. Because I mean, that's how we did it back in the day. You know what? It was boom, we saw it, it was time to go. We didn't have a whole lot of time to come back and for you to pray about it, think about it, sleep on it, right? It's like while you were sleeping on it, the person who slept on it yesterday made a decision today and you missed out, right?
Yeah, and you had to get a wet signature, right? We didn't have
absolutely.
I mean, I don't even think scanning was available back when I started,
not.
Right? We had faxes. We used to fax the offer.
Yes.
But I mean, now with all the technology, now it's cool because you can go show a property or you can list a property and meet with somebody and then go back to your computer or your assistant and go, okay, send them a contract, whatever, and DocuSign it, right, and rock and roll. But it's taken some of that contact sport out of it, right?
Well, trust me, I wish sometimes it was paper because the last time I tried to switch over, I was switching over from .loop to DocuSign. Right. And I think the first time I sent it over for Keller Williams, they had just introduced a bunch of this new stuff. I think it was like 49 pages and I was putting initials and signatures. Yeah, having a 6-page just signature contract, that would have been much better. I think just go take care of that. But yeah, it's always really nice to hear when people break down, like you said, you make it simple but not easy. And I don't play golf, but to me, it really does make a lot of sense. Golf, I've heard it, so many times they try to trick it up. They have to sell new stuff. They've got to sell new clubs, new gloves and all this, but the fundamentals are the same. And typically you getting a new set of clubs is not going to move the needle hardly at all because you suck at golf. And until you're at the highest level of being a salesman, then you can start tweaking your techniques and this, but it really, for a long time, if you'll just do the work and make the contacts and make the calls and get in front of people, that's going to move the needle the most. And that's what, like Tavis with an intern, it's like, man, Ben, I could send you over to put a lockbox on a house and put a sign out front, but that's not going to teach you the business. That might help me out a little bit today. But if you actually want to learn the business, this is not the business. The business comes in relationships and actually getting in front of people. And I think that's what differentiates, because I'll be honest, the idea of cold calling and really putting yourself out there, once you get into the mode and you kind of break that ice mentally, you can get into it. But that is the friction point. And I think so many people can never get over that friction point. And they try to move and polish and watch this video and all that, and they think that's moving the needle, and then they just quit. It's like, I tried, you tried on the wrong things. So,
well, and let me chime in here, because what I want to make sure that we stay connected, because we are searching for, I'd say, a social media coordinator, and sounds like you've talked to the Richies and others. I think you can help us there in that area. So I want to make sure that we stay connected there. And secondly, when and I'll be very brief here when I talk about my budget, right? Because you had asked me that.
Yeah, I was just curious.
It's pretty extensive. And so I'll tell you, in knowing your business model and I call them pillars, right? I know that the majority of my business, upwards of 80% of my business, comes from my A and A+ clients. Those are folks that I've sold multiple homes to, right? I know B is my farm area, right? I farm 6,000 homes here in the 252 zip code and the 230, and about 500 in the 75074 zip code, right? That accounts for roughly about 6% of my business. I host events every 60 days to stay connected, because what I don't want my friends and clients to do is think, man, Ben sold me a house, I haven't heard from him in years and years and years, right? No, I stay connected, because what I know is this, because this is a contact sport. As an adult, each and every year, Ashton, you will encounter no less than 5 people in 2024 who need to buy, sell, build, invest, or lease, right? And if I haven't stayed connected, then I won't have an opportunity at those folks. I tell you, as a past client, as a current client, as a friend, that all I need is one. You don't need to give me anything. Invite me to the party. I'll earn the rest, right? I'll get the other 4. You give me an opportunity at one, I'll get the other 4, right? And then finally, my 4th pillar of my business are my agent-to-agent referrals around the country, right? I think I just completed my 4th or 5th one last Friday. I got a referral for a gentleman who his agent was in Memphis. They trusted me, right? So I spend money in staying connected with those folks from all around the country. Yes, I do family reunion, mega camp, all the masterminds. I'm part of Gary Keller's top individual mastermind, and I make damn sure I'm in that room because the folks who are in that room, I've probably had 10 of them that have done my show. But those are the movers and shakers around the country that are making stuff happen, right? And it's important for me to make sure that they know Ben Baker's in Dallas, Texas. Yeah. And I want to gain their trust too. So that's where my money goes. And I'm fortunate that, matter of fact, on Friday, I've got a production meeting with American Dream TV. I'm going to be doing work with those guys also, working on this social media, because I think that it's becoming more and more important that, you're present Not only do we bring the experience to the table, now people also need to see us. They need to see us and know that I'm still in the game, 30-something years in, I'm still relevant, I'm still learning, still growing. You can teach these men, these old dogs, new tricks. And I think, Tavis, you and I both know that's the reason why we're here, is because we've adapted, right?
Yeah.
We've transformed. I'm a chameleon when I need to be. And I'm still passionate about learning something new, because I mean, this business, it changes and evolves all the time. So
yeah. Well, and Ben, so you got about 15 years on me in the real estate game, and when I think about that and just kind of laying out, Tabitha and I kind of talk, and she's thinking maybe she's got 10 years left in her corporate world and things like that. Now, if that really happens or not, because she's a master at what she does, and she gets so much feedback and so much validity in that space, so it's like, it's easy to talk about, but I kind of look at that and just to think about like where you are in 15 years, ahead of me. Is there an end game for you? Have you thought about it? Is there a point where you're
absolutely,
Yep. I mean, what does that look like? Right. And I know
close.
we've talked a lot about, building, in us, we invest in what so we invest in real estate, right? You've got a small rental portfolio. I've got it as well. And, over the years we've seen it, and we've both talked and have kicked ourselves both because we didn't take down more properties back when we could, or didn't have the wherewithal to do that back when properties were extremely cheap. But now, so we have to be disciplined to pick these off. We just had a conversation yesterday about you picking up one in Sherman, a brand new build up there, and it doesn't cash flow, but you have a bigger goal than that, right?
Absolutely.
And so it touch on that a little bit. I know we're getting short on time, but I just wanted to kind of end with that, and thank you for all your time today and breaking this down. I think there's been a lot of good nuggets.
Well, I hope there's been something there, because the slogan for Rise and Grind, which is the show that I do on Tuesdays, is I bring the meat every week. And I think the idea behind that is, if you're going to give me, because it's only 20 or 25 minutes, if you're going to give me 25 minutes of your time, then I don't want to waste it with an appetizer, no salad, right? Go straight for the jugular. I want the meat, right? So hopefully there's been a little here. Yeah, I can tell you my end game is pretty clear. I think in the next 3 years, I'll be moving into a different role. And I think we're so fortunate in this business that we don't have to retire. I think we just slow down. And I told my coach 2 weeks ago, he wanted to know what that looked like. And I said, for me, I think it'll look like this. I'll become very picky and choosy about who I work with. I think that I'll probably do, 15 deals, in the next 5 years, 6 or 7 years, good Lord willing, and I'm still here. Because, even those 15 deals will be way more money than I really need. Because I live skinny, my cars are paid for, my personal properties are paid for, along with a few others. So that's what it looks like for me. I feel like I'll do more mentorship, coaching, marketing. I'll do a few things to keep me busy, because I can't sit on the couch. I just can't do that. So, and my hope over the next 2 or 3 years is to add at least another $2 million to my bottom line, my net worth. With that being said, I'm going to start doing, especially with this TV show, maybe something more on the commercial side, because I've never really done that. It's something that I've been interested in for a long time, but again, I know my lane. And so I'm having to make sure that I associate with professionals who've done it for 20 or 30 years. They know their game. And they don't mind me walking beside them, because I'm willing to spend the time and the energy and my money just to learn and grow. Because I do think that I'll go through 24, 25, or 26, and the right opportunity is going to present itself. Because I have people all the time go, Ben, do you just do residential? And I'm like, oh, no, we do it all, right? Now, I've never done it, but I do think the opportunity is there. So I'm looking forward to that. and I'm also looking forward to, being a little more quality than quantity. Right now, this TV show, part of my reason for doing it is to increase my luxury brand, because over the last couple of years, I've seen those numbers fall. And here in 2024, year over year, we've seen product from $1 million plus. Right now, they're selling 22% faster than they did even a year ago. So the interesting thing is that luxury client, right? Those properties are moving better than properties that are between 5 and 750, which is crazy to think about. But I think what it continues to show is that when you've got it like that, they don't really give a damn about the interest rates. When they want it, they want it.
Right.
And they go.
Well, and here's the crazy part to that is our now first time home buyer starting point is 450.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean that when you think about that, so I mean, to be in the luxury, which was anything over $1 million, to be in the luxury sector right now, I mean, they're probably going to have to adjust that name because it's becoming a second or third home. Realistically, now to be in $1 million, it doesn't get you what it used to get, right? Like
no, luxury used to be $500,000. When I started, I thought when I sold my first home at $250,000, and I think that was around 1992 or 93. That was big time. My office applauded me. There was celebrations, right? And Tavis, to your point, one of Ben's good buddies, Brandon Maluski, just closed about 6 weeks ago his first home at 475. His first home at 475. And I'm like, how in the world are these kids? He's 24 years. He's 27.
Wow.
27 years old. And my first home was 79.9 in Carrollton, Texas, at Trinity Mills and Josie.
Was it Fox and Jacobs?
This was a general. It was a general home, and it was a 322, about 1,550 square feet at 79.9.
Nice.
Wow.
And again, like I said, if we had it back then, Tavis, we'd have bought the whole damn neighborhood.
Oh, I know.
Because those homes today in Rolling Ridge Estates in Carrollton, those same crappy 3-bedroom homes, they're not crappy. Those homes today are $380 to $450, and if it's been completely redone, oh my goodness, it might cross $450, and you're like, are you kidding? Are you kidding?
100%.
So
I mean,
so leverage to the hill and go buy whatever you can today, because someone will have this conversation in 20 years.
Like, do you remember? Right. Yes,
Wow.
If you can afford it, or leverage it, let somebody else buy it for you. Absolutely, pick the thing up, pick it up.
Increase your base investment.
The amount of increase in real estate, more so. You've probably seen the most drastic jump over the last 10 years than you ever saw before, right? Especially in DFW. I mean, when you think about it, it wasn't that long ago. Jumbo loans started at $500,000.
That's right.
And now I don't know what the FHA guidelines are right now, but it's pretty close to getting up there, right? To $500,000 now. So it's wild. It's extremely wild.
Let me end on this, because I know our time is short, but I think that, we're approached all the time. People want to talk about the real estate bubble and stuff, right? Here's an interesting fact. I think since 1942, there's only been 5 to 7 years. Since 1942, 5 to 7 years with negative appreciation. Negative. Okay? All the other years were balanced or up. And again, we've seen at least 5 or 6 years with double digit appreciation, right? And so for those people who always approach me, right, I have to just put them in their place and tell them, look, first of all, my boots are on the ground, right? If you want to, buy into the hysteria, you can do that, right? But facts are facts, right? And know that our projections over the next 2 or 3 years, we're not seeing the real estate market fall. It's only going up. And matter of fact, I think the projections this year are between 3 and 5%. Next year in 25, they're between 5 and 7%. So if you want to miss out on that, and there are some pockets that are experiencing even more than that, upwards of almost 10% in some pockets, right?
Wow.
So don't miss it. Don't miss this boat, because if you do, in the next 2 or 3 years, you might be completely out of the market, because our affordability has increased significantly. So,
well, and here's the thing to end on. That number is based off of that sales price of that property. So your client, you just sold $475,000. That 5% number is quite substantial to think about on
absolutely
that year-over-year number.
Yeah, it's adding $23,000 to his equity every year, his bottom
Yes.
line net worth. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
Well, Ben, thank you so much. This has been
Yes.
awesome.
It's
I talk about it, a few nuggets.
right?
Yeah. This is how we do it. We were like, I don't know what we're going to talk about. An hour later, like, man, I guess we got to go do work. Yeah, we just push record. I guess we got to work. So yeah, no, you did great. A lot of great nuggets, and I really appreciate it. And next time we're in the lobby of Keller Williams, I'll have to do more than say hi and introduce myself again. So I need
make
to
sure
sit
you
in on
reach
some
out
of your
because
classes.
Christina, my success manager, we're looking for someone to fill that role for us to help. So if you can connect us, if that's you and your company, man, we're all ears.
At least point you in the right direction, kind of get an idea of what you're looking for. I'd love to do that. So that would be amazing. So well, thank you so much, Ben and Tavis. For those of you who are listening, they've got this interview. We got a lot of other interviews. We come to you every Friday with an episode with the DFW market update. We talk about the news of the day, and we get into a little bit of deep dive, a lot of times about investing in real estate. We do that every Friday. If you have not yet, please like, subscribe, share this with someone. Find us on Instagram. Actually, Ben, tell everyone real quick where they can find you. Are you on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook? Yeah. How do we find you?
Yes. It's old school Facebook. I think it's Ben Baker Realtor. You'll see me and my two boys on Instagram. It's Ben Baker _dealmaker. YouTube is the same. And I, like you, I'd say hit subscribe on my YouTube channel. Right now, our target is to get to 1,000, hopefully by year's end. It's just something we haven't thought about, but I think today, just like with this, the market continues to grow and grow and grow. And so it's Ben Baker _dealmaker. And you'll see all of my Rise and Grind shows and other podcasts and interviews, and I think relevant real estate information. So there it is.
We'll link that in the show notes, and we got our new Instagram for the podcast, and so we'll be putting out links to all that stuff. So pay attention to that. Until next week, have a great day.
Thanks, guys.